I'm a sucker for games that reward skillful play with a rising power ceiling. That moment of reaching the pinnacle of strength and smirking at areas or enemies that once proved daunting is pure satisfaction. Risk of Rain 1 and 2 are probably the best examples of this style of game. If you play well and make smart decisions with the options presented, you can be a walking massacre that easily dispatches your foes. But the journey to get to that level of domination is the alluring part to me. Vampire Survivors, an indie game in early access on Steam, exemplifies the same design philosophy I've described and boils it down to its essence. But don't mistake simplicity for lacking. This small project by developer Ponsel packs a punch easily worth the small $3 price of admission. Vampire Survivors is a combination of bullet hell, roguelite, and old-school arcade action. The goal is to survive continuous waves of monsters as long as possible, racking up the kill count into the tens of thousands and filling the screen with pure carnage and mayhem. The player takes control of one of several characters who look straight out of the Castlevania series. From classic Belmonts to Alucard, the gang's all here. Each character has a different starting weapon as well as a unique trait to help them get through the clashes. For instance, Gennaro adds an additional weapon thrown, or Pasqualina increases a weapon's fire rate automatically as she levels. At the moment, the difference between one class and another doesn't matter too much, as all of them are capable of stopping the deluge of bats and mummies unleashed. I really hope this is something that improves in the full release, however, as having more distinct variations would encourage diversity of play, which, if you've watched my channel so far, you know I'm a big fan of. Once a character is chosen, the player is dropped into the level and the onslaught can begin. Mechanically, the only thing to do is move. Yeah, you heard that right. No attacking, no jumping, dodging, parrying, or casting spells, just movement. The game will take care of using items in your inventory, so you don't need to press anything to lash out with a whip or throw a holy cross. But like I said in the introduction, don't mistake simplicity for lacking. The trick with Vampire Survivors is managing enemy waves with your movement. See, all monsters do one thing: move toward the player. They won't shoot or attack, just slowly trudge their way in the hero's direction. This sounds like it would be an easy action to deal with, and to some extent, it is really easy to manipulate enemy movements. But there's a catch. Killing enemies drops crystals, and these crystals are how the player levels up. Why is that important? Well, leveling up allows the selection of a new piece of equipment, or alternately, the upgrading of an existing one. As the timer at the top of the screen ticks upward, enemy waves become more frequent, more massive, and filled with tougher monsters. Without increasing the number of spells cast or Bibles swirling like a dervish about the player, the hero won't last very long. So, because crystals drop from enemies and crystals have to be collected, finding gaps in the crowd and drawing mental maps of where big groups of creatures were found is crucial to survival. The game quickly evolves into one of risk management. Tricky maneuvers to reach crystals might cost health if not executed correctly, but not leveling up is certain doom. Occasionally, boss monsters will appear. These are tougher enemies that require a lot of hits to take down and won't be as affected by staggering abilities. Killing these bosses rewards the player with a treasure chest, which definitely makes it worth the trouble to kill them. Treasure chests contain, at minimum, 1 upgrade and at maximum 5 upgrades. This is a nice way to increase your power quickly, plus look at these animations. I mean, seriously, they're so good. Okay, so I've gone over the basic elements of play, and now I want to discuss a couple other aspects of the game. Besides crystals, the player can collect gold, which is used outside the levels to permanently upgrade the player profile and unlock new characters. Some of these include faster weapon speed, more gold, or increased experience. Characters are unlocked by fulfilling certain conditions and then spending the requisite gold. But those aren't the only upgrades available. During combat, items can be used in tandem to create much stronger versions of them. As an example, upgrading the fire wand to level 8 while also having a spinach leaf, because, that makes sense. Having both of those will upgrade the fire wand to its highest form, which is significantly stronger than the regular level 8 fire wand. There are quite a few of these hidden combos to be discovered, and I found these secret mechanics to be the difference when entering the final minutes of run, when absolutely all chaos is set loose. Putting all the unlockables and simplicity of play together creates a very approachable roguelite experience that has depth for those who want to invest the time. For myself, I love the final, I would say 20 to 15 minutes or so of each playthrough. At this point, the monsters are filling the screen at a steady rate, and my hero is beginning to unlock their full potential. It's pure carnage watching wave upon wave of enemies disappear like a flash in the pan. There's something very satisfying about this loop of slaughter and collection, which honestly makes me sound kind of like a serial killer, but I like what I like. I do want to point out that after beating a level, the replay can be done in hyper mode, which is the exact same thing except the player and monsters move much quicker. The game really opens up at this higher speed, and I'd love to see even faster modes down the road. Now, since Vampire Survivors is in early access, I expect the game to evolve as it heads toward an official release, but because it's in this state, I would also like to give a few suggestions that might spice up the gameplay. Obviously, I expect there to be more stages, characters, and items, and I don't really feel like that's worth talking about because the developer is on it. They've already released several patches that have done exactly these things. What I would love to see is cooperative play. It might make the screen kind of crazy trying to keep track of 2 players, but it would be really fun. Blasting monsters with friends always sounds like a great time. And speaking of time, the time limit of 30 minutes per run is fine with me. I know some in the community are not fans, but I honestly don't see a problem with it. However, I would like to see an unlimited mode or even a campaign mode where you travel from level to level defeating larger bosses, and honestly that would increase the replayability. Basically, I'm wanting more excuses to boot up the game. As far as technical changes, playing windowed is not great. It's full screen or bust in my household. Some of the UI elements also do not scale well and are difficult to see. In particular, the items in the upper left corner are nigh impossible to discern depending on what's happening on screen. Lastly, some additional music tracks would help, perhaps a rotating library to prevent overuse, especially when you get into the longer 30-minute runs. The same track over and over and over does get old. And that's pretty much it for my review. Overall, Vampire Survivors is easily worth the cost of $3 or free if you want to play it in a browser. Although, I think if you play it for free, you should throw the developer some bones to help with development. If you love casual games, bullet hells, or roguelites, I think you should give this game a shot. You'll definitely get at least a few hours of play even at this early stage in development, and I'm confident you'll get even more hours as they add more content. I'm honestly really looking forward to see how this game shapes up in the future. Have yourself a good one.